Good afternoon, everybody. I am Sam Henderson, host of Omega Psi Phi State of Georgia Legend Series, where we travel the state talking to brothers of Omega who have made significant contributions or they know some insight on Omega Psi Phi fraternity. Today, we are speaking with a 55-year bridge builder. He's a former state representative. He has made various contributions to the fraternity, and today he is our guest. I'm talking about none other than our brother and our very good friend, Brother Elijah K. Hill. Brother Hill, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Well, we are absolutely elated because we have been trying to do this interview for quite some time, and I know that you are a very, very busy man, and usually there's something going on and you're very active and in the community and doing all kinds of things, but we're elated that today we're on your calendar. So we want to get started, Brother Hill, by just kind of giving you an opportunity to tell us a little bit about the early Elijah K. Hill. Where'd you go to school, your community? Tell us a little bit about your parents, your family, your brothers and sisters, if you will.
All right, I was born in Fort Valley, Georgia. Had 4 brothers and sisters. I'm the only one that's still alive at this time.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I had one brother that passed a year ago, and then 6 months after that, my youngest brother passed. But I went to school at H.A. Hunt High School there in Fort Valley, Georgia. And, you know, my parents, my mother passed when I was like a year, 6 months old.
Oh, wow.
So I really didn't get, I was really 35 years old before I even know what my mother looked like.
Oh, my goodness.
Someone had a picture of her, and when I actually saw the picture, people tell you, oh, if you want to know what your mother looked like, look at your sister. You know, oh, my mama couldn't have looked like her. But when we saw the picture, even my sister at the time thought it was her.
Oh, wow.
So it was elating to see, and I mean, it was a thrill to see what she finally looked like.
Mm-hmm. So when you were in school, and I'm thinking about your age, and I know pretty much how old you are, I'm assuming that schools were pretty much segregated.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So while you were coming up through school, you didn't go to school with any white. Your schools were all black.
Yes, sir. We was all black at H.A. Hunt High School. Matter of fact, the first time I was in the classroom with a white individual, I was up teaching them.
Oh, okay.
When I did my student teaching.
So what year? What year were you into teaching when you had your first white students?
Student teaching. I did my student teaching in 1969.
And being that this was the first time you had taught white students, did you feel you needed to change your perspective on how you were teaching? Was there anything nervous about, hey, we're now having to teach white kids? Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, you know, not growing up in a classroom with whites, not growing up the way we grew up. For example, if you was on the sidewalk and a white kid was walking down the sidewalk, you got off the sidewalk and let that kid pass. So you couldn't talk back. You weren't able to talk back to anyone of any white person. I put it that way. So it was kind of a little challenging in the beginning because I had never been in the situation to be able to tell a white student or white kid or white anyone to stop talking. And like I said, I will never forget, I was in the classroom and the person I doing my student teaching under, I said to him, I said, I can't get these kids to stop talking. What should I do? And I will never forget, he looked at me and he said, you're the teacher, and walked out of the classroom.
Now, was this gentleman a white gentleman or was he black?
No, this was a black gentleman. Matter of fact, I'm going to call his name, Mr. Ed Dyson.
Okay.
Coach Dyson was really responsible for me being who I am or where I am today. Because again, I had no way to get back and forth to school for student teaching. He would come by every morning, pick me up, take me over to Northside High School, and those days in which he could not take me back home because he was coaching, he found a young lady who lived in Marshallville.
Gotcha.
And asked her would she mind dropping me off. And she was elated because she didn't like to drive.
Okay.
So I drove from Northside High to Fort Valley, and she took the wheel from there.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
yes.
So I'm assuming then that there was some nerves that took. Did your father go to college?
To be honest with you, I was the first person in my family to actually go to college. Like I said, my brothers and sisters, I had two brothers older and a brother and a sister who were twins younger. It's kind of, I guess, not weird, but it's kind of funny because, like I said, they did not finish high school. They did at a later date.
Okay.
But I was the first one to do that. And we grew up homeless. We grew up going from house to house. Matter of fact, I was in college. And I was staying with a cousin who allowed me to stay with them while I was in college. So there were some things that happened when we were growing up that I wish we could change, but hey, that made us who we are today.
And we are absolutely glad that you became the man that you are today. You mean a great deal to all of us.
Well, thank you.
Let's talk about after you finished high school. Did you automatically? Was it already in the cards for you to go to college?
No, going to college was the farthest thing from my mind.
What did you think you'd be doing?
Had no clue.
Okay.
And I tell people all the time, one of the saddest days of my life was when I finished high school.
Okay.
And I say that because while I was in school, I knew where I was going to be every day. But once I finished school, what are you going to do now? So I was kind of sad because now I don't know what I'm going to do. Most of the guys during that time end up going to the service. I know I didn't want to do that.
Okay.
It so happened there was a minister in Fort Valley who had, the lady that was raising us had told him that she wanted me to go to college.
Okay.
He came and picked me up and took me out to Fort Valley State.
Now, let me stop you just a second. She said she wanted you to go to college. Did you think in your mind that you could go to college?
Oh yeah, I did. Matter of fact, my high school math instructor, when I was in high school, math was my strong suit.
Gotcha.
I really had no problem with math. Matter of fact, math was so easy for me, it was boring. What I would do, I would get a math book and I would go and try to figure out a different way of doing problems.
Gotcha.
It was just that easy for me. And so what she did, she had me to come to her classroom every day. She would sit me in the back of the classroom. Keep in mind now, I'm 11th grade.
Sure.
She sat me in the back of the classroom and she said, I want you to do these problems.
Gotcha.
She was in grad school.
So she was actually preparing you to go to college.
But she was giving me her graduate work.
I got you.
And had me doing her graduate work. During those days, we went back to our homeroom class at the end of the day. At the end of the day, she would come and get me, bring me back to her classroom, and I had to sit in the back of the classroom with her and explain those problems to her.
So she was preparing you. Maybe she didn't say that's what she was doing at the time.
She did.
She did.
She said, you need to go to college.
So she was preparing you for college.
Right.
So tell us about, was it a challenge to get into college, you know?
No, it wasn't a challenge because, again, the dean of students is the one that took me on the campus.
Gotcha.
I knew nothing about registration and all of this. I think he ended up getting me a Pell Grant.
Okay.
A student loan, I'll say, a student loan. I ended up working for the school newspaper, so I was able to make a little bit of money, a little money. But at that time too, and I used to tell my son, I said, what we're spending on you for 1 quarter, I spent that in probably 4 years at Fort Valley State because, again, the tuition, I believe, at the time was like $50 or something like that per quarter.
Now, when you went to college, was your father still alive?
My father was alive. Let me go back a little bit on that. My mother and my father were not married.
Okay.
My father had his own family.
Gotcha.
So he was still around. I would see him every now and then. My acknowledgement, the acknowledgement of my being his son, was at the time in which I finished college.
Gotcha.
I'll never forget walking the streets. I happened to see him coming out of the barber shop. Hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing fine. How you doing? Oh, let me introduce. This is my son. That's the
Was
first time I heard him say, "This is my son."
Okay.
But
okay.
we grew up knowing him. But
yes.
again, he had his own family.
Sure, I understand. So, let's go back to when you got to college. When you started there, did you think did you know many of the students who were there, or were they from different parts of the city, or from the areas of the state?
At Fort Valley State, they were mostly from all over from everywhere.
Okay.
So it wasn't that many students there that I knew. Now, my childhood friend, we was in every grade together from
Okay.
first through 12th.
Mm-hmm.
He and I, we ended up going to Fort Valley State together. But we went in different directions.
Gotcha.
He went into social work. I went into mathematics. So, but we was out there at the same time.
Gotcha.
And it just so happened we even pledged together.
Okay. So now you mentioned pledging. Let's talk a little bit about Omega, because I think a lot of our brothers that will see this interview, there's some questions that all the brothers have. We've been in settings where they say this and they say that, and so the first thing I have for you is, what guided you to want to be a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity?
There were so many teachers that were Omegas. I remember the colors.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know too much. I didn't know anything about the fraternity, but I just remember them wearing those colors. For our principal at the school, Mr. H.E. Bryant, Brother H.E. Bryant.
Okay.
My math, one of my math instructors, the coaches there. I mean, it was just so many Omegas there. And to be honest with you, that's all I knew.
So you're saying that there were a number of men that you would see, teachers and professionals, who were Omegas. Was there any one particular one that just stands out to say, he is one of the main reasons that I've become an Omega man, or that I became an Omega man?
Well, my cousin who I ended up sleeping in his bed, he was the one that really did the influencing. He ended up going off to service, and like I said, I was homeless, and he asked his mom, said, "I'm getting ready to go off to service. My bed's gonna be empty. Would you allow him to stay at our house?" That's where I stayed at when I was in college.
So he was an Omega man?
He was.
Did he finish college?
Oh yes.
So he was he commissioned into the military?
He went in, but he's in Malaysia now.
Okay.
He's been there for a year. Matter of fact, he's my cousin.
I got you.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So I'm assuming that you matriculated and went through, came out with your degree in mathematics. I'm assuming that once you finished school, you had to work somewhere.
Oh yeah.
What was your first job?
My first job was at Northside Junior High. It's
Okay.
Northside Middle School now, as a math instructor. At that time, when I was doing my student teaching, the principal, superintendent at least, came to me and he brought me a paper. I had no clue as to what it was. He said, "Read over right quick." I read over it. He said, "I need you to sign it." What he was doing, he was asking me to come back once I finished college.
Okay.
You already have a job here in Warner Robins.
I got you.
You come back and we want you to teach math. Now keep in mind, I still had 2 quarters to go in school.
Okay.
So once I finished college, I came back over here and I started teaching math. I ended up being a coach, which I had never played organized sports at all, but it's ironic how things work out sometime in your favor. I was a math teacher, and we had to raise money. They had the teachers to play the coaches.
Okay.
And we played a charity game in which the coaches beat us 52 to 51. I happened to score 49 of our 51 points. The next day, the principal was at my apartment. We need you to coach.
You became the school coach.
That's how I got into coaching.
Oh, wow.
That's how I got into coaching. And a couple of years later, he come to me and he said, Well, our athletic director leaving now. Oh no. I wasn't coaching at the time because I used to go home and pick up my son.
Gotcha.
And he used to cry. And my wife, Kathy, would take him back and he'll stop crying. I'll get him again, he'll start crying. And I said, well, why is he crying? She said, well, he really don't know you. I said, because when you go to work, he's asleep. When coaching, when you come back home, he's asleep. And that touched me. That really hit home. So the next day I went back to school and I told the principal I was going to have to resign from coaching. He asked me, what's the problem? I said, well, my son doesn't know me. And I want him to grow up knowing me.
Sure.
So
sure.
I need to be able to spend some time with him in coaching. I can't do it. He applauded me, shook my hand, and said, I cannot hold that against you. Matter of fact, I'm proud of you for even thinking that way.
Okay. Before we go too far into your career, because I know you had a pretty nice long career and done a number of things, let's go back a minute to college. I wanted to ask you, how many men were online with you when you pledged?
There were 4 of us, one from Macon, one from Americus, Georgia, and myself and my best friend. We grew up together from Fort Valley. So there was 4 of us. We called ourselves at the time the Impressive Four.
The Impressive Four.
And it's sad to say, but I'm the only one left of the 4.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Are any of them do you still have a relationship? But
Yeah.
apparently they're all deceased. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. So now let's go back to. I didn't want to forget that. I wanted to make sure that we covered that. Let's go back now to your career. So you had resigned as the coach.
Right.
And what happened next?
Yeah, I resigned at coaching, and I think I stayed out of coaching for about 2 years. One morning he called me into his office, the principal.
Sure.
Okay, he said, well, our athletic director's leaving. Oh gosh, he getting ready to ask me about coaching again. That goes through my mind. And he said, and I want you to be my athletic director.
Oh, okay.
You know how people say something and you
Sure.
hear it, but at the same time you don't hear.
Right.
It didn't hit me what he was saying. You want me to be my what? Your what? So, we go from there. And he told me what the compensation would be for being the athletic director. Back in those days, this was in the mid-70s.
Mid-70s.
Mid-70s, the compensation for being the athletic director was about $5,000. If I was going to be back into coaching, going to be another $2,000. So back in that was a lot of money. His word to me was, go home and talk to your wife and just let me know something Monday.
Okay.
So
hold that thought right there, because as we're talking, I'm thinking of things that I needed to ask you that I know that some of the brothers, that will see this interview. What was your Omega experience like when you were in undergraduate? What was the whole dynamic?
Okay.
From the time you went online to, you don't have to get into details, but just what was that experience like?
The experience was when you first get online, you don't know what to expect.
Sure.
But overall, the experience was good because, again, during those days, brothers, and I'll say brothers at the time, I was not a brother, but brothers really looked out, they taught you.
Okay.
It was more of a teaching, making sure you understood the rules and regulations of the organization. Most of, people talk about hazing. Hazing is outlawed by the organization, as well as you will know. But during those times, they mainly play tricks on you. And I even tell guys now, when you're online, you won't be able to do anything correct. Just have to accept that and move forward.
Sure.
For example, if they ask you to move a chair, you pick the chair up wrong, or something happened, the wrong leg hit the floor first. So these little things are going. But my experience, we had a wonderful time. No one got hurt. All of us went over. It was just a pleasant experience. I have no regrets. If I had to do it again, I would do it again because, like I said, I had no problems with what we went through.
And how old were you when you actually got online for Omega?
At the time, I was 19.
19.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
19. I think during that time, you had to be in school so many quarters. And so at the same time, the finances were kind of a hinder because me just being out at Fort Valley State, making just enough to survive, didn't have the finances. But to show you how the brothers were, I never had to buy, although every time we performed in uniforms.
When you say perform, what do you mean?
Step shows.
Okay,
We
gotcha.
performed in uniforms. We performed in suits. But there were guys already in the organization who were your same size. They allowed you to use those things. That's unheard of today.
So back when you all were, I'm gonna use your term, performing. Did you ever perform in raggedy, cut off, gold boots? You know, I mean, I'm just trying to see how things have changed. But was it more of an organization of very proud men who liked the way they looked, liked the way they moved, liked the clothes that they? I mean, what was that like?
We were we still are a proud organization, but at that time we were very proud. On campus, we were the cream of the crop. Sure. We did not when we performed, like I said, when we had step shows and things of that nature, we always wore suits. I mean, we never denigrated to wearing things torn, anything like that. No, we always wore suits. I think the worst thing we ever wore were a pair of overalls.
Gotcha.
And those overalls were dyed purple. But other than that, no. We had to wear suits. We had to wear coordinated purple shirts or purple black slacks. But no, we never. Never.
Listening to you, would you say that the men from that time, do you see any real difference in what's happening now and during the time when you were performing or stepping? I mean, what's a huge difference that you've noticed?
The difference is we did not denigrate ourselves nor the organization. We took pride in what we did. We always performed. We never used profanity. I mean, profanity was out of our character. So we never used that. We never did anything to denigrate women. We just never did that.
And while you were an undergraduate member of Omega, did you hold any office?
I was, ironically, the dean of pledges, and I also ended up being the boss of the chapter.
Okay. So it sounds like you had a really good undergraduate experience as an Omega man. Now let's come back to your getting ready to become the athletic director. You were about to tell us about that.
Well, yeah, I became the athletic director, and ironically, I was the first black athletic director in the city of Warner Robins.
Oh, wow.
For the House County Board of Education. I didn't know anything about that, but he asked me to be the director, and I talked with my wife, and she said, okay, but at the same time, my son was of age where once he got out of school, she brought him over to the school.
Gotcha.
Okay, he ended up being my little manager. So, I mean, that's something he really, really, really enjoyed because all the kids got to know him. He got to know all the kids, and he really thought he was a big shot.
I gotcha.
So he really enjoyed it, yeah.
So how many years did you work with the school system, with the Houston County school system?
Okay, for the Houston County Board of Education, I was there from 1970 to 1983 at Northside Junior High. Now, when I went over to the tech school, at the time they were still a part of the Board of Education.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we didn't become a state school until '89. So
When you say we, you're talking about the
the
technical,
technical
college.
college,
Okay.
right, did not become a state school until '89.
Okay. So how long were you with the technical college?
Oh, I was with the technical college from 1983 till 2010. Matter of fact, I retired 2010, December 31st, 2010, after 40 years.
So I'm assuming your retirement, that you're counting the years under when it was still under the Houston County school
Right.
system, right? Okay. Well, and so when you retired, now that's when you really got busy, right?
That's when things got busy, yes.
So want to just ask you a few questions, really, just about Omega. Now, what's the biggest difference you've noticed in today's Omega Man and the Omega Man from the 1960s?
I think, and not all of them, quite a few of them do not want to learn the Omega way, and there's a way that Omega has things already set. We have Omega has a foundation, and we need to be able to follow that foundation. To me, we have some brothers get in, and they want to change things, but Omega has always been Omega, and Omega will always be Omega. And we have to brothers have to come in and learn the Omega way and do it the Omega way.
And in saying that, has the Omega way changed over the years?
The Omega way has not changed. Now you have brothers that have come in and they want to change things, but we can't change the Omega way. Our founders built the foundation, so that foundation is going to always be there.
Do you believe the Omega Men of today have a full understanding of what it means, what manhood means?
No, I don't. When I say no, I'm not talking about all Omega men of today. There are some that do not have an understanding of manhood. Like I said, one of our principles is protection of womanhood. But some brothers think manhood is all about, being derogatory, stepping. The organization is not really about that. And you have a lot of, not a lot, but some brothers come in today, especially in the graduate chapter, and they're trying to relive what they did not do as an undergrad.
I see. So that being said, do you believe that the idea that Omega men are referred to as dogs, does that put a dark cloud over the organization?
Most definitely.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Most definitely, because I think if brothers would actually read the history of the organization, the founders used the word dog, I think, one time, and it's terms of tenacity. What they're referring to there, and in terms of my reading, is that when we start something, we need to have the tenacity of a dog to see it through, to stick to it. And so, yeah, it brings a negative light because brothers use that in the negative connotation. In other words, they want a dog, they just use the negative connotation. I just put it that way.
And from your perspective, what can a young brother today do to present Omega in the best light?
Read, understand, stop denigrating the organization, and in some cases denigrating yourself. Because, when you wear the colors, when you wear the emblems, and other people see that, if you do negative things, they don't just say you did it, they group all of us in that negative connotation. So brothers need to just understand that if you go back and look at the founders, pictures of the founders, I've never seen a picture of the founders out of a suit, at least a shirt and tie. But brothers feel like I've never worn a torn sweatshirt or what have you. I have one sweatshirt I recall. The only reason I cut the sleeves off of it because the sleeves had gotten too short. So I did that back in I believe it was probably back in the 80s, and I still wear that T-shirt today.
Okay.
It's not a T-shirt, a sweatshirt.
Sweatshirt.
Yeah, I still wear it today when I go to the gym.
So let me ask this question. Since Omega Psi Phi fraternity no longer accepts letters of interest, what advice would you give a young man who is interested in Omega as to his best opportunity to become part of the organization?
Well, the best opportunity, if you're seeking this organization, first of all, you should read up on the organization, know something about it. Not only that, you should attend some of the functions, find out when the groups are having functions, go to those particular functions. One of my pet peeves, join the NAACP, then get involved in the community. Start doing something in the community. Because keep in mind, if you're already doing something, then if you become a member of Omega, we expect you to continue to do those. And it's hard for you to think that if a person is not involved in the community before they become a member, that they're going to all of a sudden become involved. So, we shouldn't be to the point where we have to make guys be involved. You have to want to.
So I understand that you, along with others, got the charter for Warner Robins, Georgia. What inspired you to seek a chapter for Warner Robins, Georgia?
Yeah, okay. At the time, I was in the chapter in Macon, Lambda Phi. I was the boss of the chapter there at Lambda Phi, and I would come home and there would meet guys everywhere with tags on the car, and I'm saying, wait, why aren't you financial? And the thing was, I just don't like driving to different places, because at Lambda Phi we was having meetings in Macon. One month we'll be in Fort Valley, another month we might meet in Milledgeville. So I said, well, what would it take for you to become active again? Well, I tell you, if we had a job here, I would become active. And that kind of triggered a thought, okay, let's try to get a chapter here in Warner Robins. So I talked with Brother Turner and told him, I said, look, what I'm going to do, we're going to try to get a chapter in Warner Robins.
Okay.
So I couldn't do anything at the time because I was the boss and I didn't want a conflict of interest. So the day after I came out of office, the next day, I sat down, I called the guys who had told me they would become a member, become financial if we had a chapter here, and asked them again, are you serious about it? We had a meeting, matter of fact, in this same room. And I explained to them, this is what you're going to have to pay. This is what we're going to need to do. We got to pay for a charter. We got to do this. I said, if you're serious, and I'll never forget, I put sheets of paper on the floor. And I had those sheets of paper labeled international, state, district, and charter. I said, this is what it costs to be for national dues, state dues, and we need $50 from each of you for chartering fee.
How many men did you need in order to get that charter?
We needed 10.
Okay.
And we had 10. Well, myself and Brother Turner were already financial.
Gotcha.
But since we were already financial, we would be counted within that 10.
I got you.
So we really only needed 8.
I see.
And we got those 8. Those 8 actually paid the money that night.
Okay.
And from that point on, we started working on the paperwork, and we turn it in, and everything is history now.
So let me ask this question. I understand that you have received a tremendous number of accolades within Omega Psi Phi. Tell me the one that stands out the most for you.
Well, I guess I'll be honest. The one that stands out the most is the last one I just got. Okay. And that was being selected to the State of Georgia Hall of Fame. Okay. Because again, I've had Omega Man of the Year on the state and district. I've had the Superior Service Award and all those awards. But when you deal with talking about the Hall of Fame, that's something that not too many brothers are going to get involved in.
How many men are in the Hall of Fame right now in Georgia?
For the inaugural Hall of Fame.
So inaugural, that means that you guys were the first.
It's very first. Okay. And there were only 4. And ironic, those 4, and I want to speak on those 4.
Sure.
One was Brother Church. He was our first state representative. I knew Brother Church. I grew up going over to Brother Church's house, and I'll never forget.
So he was from Fort Valley?
He was from Fort Valley, yes. I grew up going over to his house, helping him with, he was in charge of FHA, and I believe they was have a ham and egg show at Fort Valley State. So I would go to his house and help load up the hams, help load up the eggs and things. But at the same time, I did not know
that he was an Omega man. Gotcha.
But he was one of the person that I looked up to. The other person, Brother Moses Norman, he was one of our grand bosses. And when I was the state rep, when I was on the council, he would come to me and he would give me, just give me little tidbits of things on, Brother Hill, this is what you should be doing. This is what you need to do. Next time, don't do it this way. Next time, do this. And that's what we need to do. When brothers have been in an organization, you need to take guidance from those brothers because, again, those are the brothers that have gone through it, and what you want to do is keep that going.
Sure.
So in order to keep it going, you need to build on what they have already built on. The third person was Brother Buck Crosby. Brother Buck Crosby is in Brunswick. He was the first one to select me, appoint me at least, on his state council.
Gotcha.
So he appointed me on his state council, and I was on the state council for probably about, I don't know, maybe 20 years in different capacities before I became an officer, but just doing committee work on the state council. But I'm ever indebted to those three people, and to be inducted into the Hall of Fame with them.
So the Hall of Fame, is this something that the state organization will do every year?
No, the state organization will do it every other year. Every conclave year is when they will place 4 individuals into the Hall of Fame.
So it's only going to be 4 each time?
4 each time. 4 each time. It could be less, but like I said, Hall of Fame, you got to have put some work in. The Hall of Fame does not become a member of the Hall of Fame because of longevity. It has to be something that you have done to enhance the state, district.
So someone would have to see your body of work.
Yes.
That's very, very interesting. And I will tell you, we are absolutely elated that you were chosen for the Hall of Fame. I have 1 or 2 more questions that I'd love to get an answer to. Now, I know that you have gotten so many different, you've made so many contributions to Omega Psi-Phi. Can you just tell us some of those things that have been impactful, if you will, that you think that, if you hadn't been there, it might have happened, but it may not have happened. But the idea that you were there, they happened. So just elaborate on that for us.
Okay, I can't remember all of the things that I have done. Let me just go through a few that I know that really impacted the organization. We had never been doing ritualistic workshops.
Okay.
All right, I started a ritualistic workshop at the state meeting, going through explaining to brothers about the ritual, what the ritual mean, and as you know now, that's something that we do every year at the state, at least the district and international, in terms of MSP training. That's what it's called now. But when I started, we called it the ritualistic workshop. So we did that. The other thing was the undergraduate summit. When I was the 7th district director of undergraduate relations, I believe Brother J.B. Carter was the 7th district representative at the time. At the time, we had a few undergrads coming to meetings. When they would come there, they would come and kind of just hang out. And he wanted to meet with the DR, Brother Carter, wanted to meet with the undergrad. He said, I just want to have a meeting with them alone. I'm not talking about the graduate brothers. He said, can we come up with something so we can meet with the just undergrad? So I kind of thought, and at the time, that I'll never forget, the president was having a summit. And I thought to myself, I said, well, that could be a good name. I said, okay, I'm gonna call it the Undergraduate Summit. So I put the name down and got back with the DR, and we came up with a date in which we was gonna do it. He said, let's do it, and therefore we came up with the 7th District Undergraduate Summit. And as you know now, we have a summit every year. Matter of fact, the state has a summit, and IHQ has a summit.
And so you would say that that was your brainchild.
That was mine, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, I have 2 other questions that I want to ask, and I promise you these will be the last
That's
2.
fine.
The first one is, well, the first one is not so much of a question. I was doing a little research on you, and I was looking at a number of the accolades you've gotten, and I look around the state to see who else is, and I just wanted to I see where you were voted the 9th state representative for the state of Georgia. What was that experience like?
Oh gosh.
How many men are in the state? At least back then, how many men do you think were registered in the state?
For the state. Let me just say this: I started a program on the state level, in which at that time we ended up having the largest registers at a state meeting. It was called the Father-Son Recognition Program. And what that was the father was introduced, the son was introduced, and the father pent the son, and the son pent the father. Now keep in mind, in order to do that, you had to also be registered and in attendance. So brothers wanted to recognize their sons. Sons wanted their fathers there.
Sure.
So we had fathers who had not been attending state meetings end up coming. We had sons who had not been attending state meetings end up registering. And that was one of the largest state meetings that we had had. Now we've had some larger than that since, because the organization has grown. But I mean, during that time, if we had probably about maybe 275 was a large number.
I got you.
At that particular time.
And I wanted to and I have one last question for you, but before we ask that last question, I was just amazed at the number of accolades. I see 7th District Omega Man of the Year, Superior Service Award 4 times, 7th District Distinguished Service Award from Brother Henry Spears. I guess he was the state representative at the time. District. 7th District Outstanding Service Award from J.B. Carter. 7th District Dedication and Service Award from George Grace. 7th District Scroll and Honor Award. And then I see where you are the 50-year bridge builder. I always tell people you're my bridge builder when it comes to Omega. The last question I have for you, Brother Hill, is if you could go back and change any aspect of your walk through Omega, what would that change be?
I don't think I would change anything. If things could be enhanced, I would ask brothers to be mindful that you're not just representing yourself when you go out and do things, especially when you're wearing our colors. You're representing a pride organization.
Sure.
So, I mean, that goes back, and back. And as a graduate brother, and I can only speak toward graduates now because I've been away from undergrad so long. Don't try to relive what you wasn't able to do when you were in college. And a lot of them are doing that, and not a lot, but we have quite a few that's doing that. Brotherhood is good, but if going to meetings, go to meetings and attend meetings and learn, and then be able to teach other brothers as they come in. Now, you mentioned one of the awards being the 7th District Omega Man of the Year. I am still elated about that award because my son was the chapter KRS.
Okay.
I did not know he had written a letter to the DR in terms of, matter of fact, to the state, and I won on the state, no, I'm sorry, on the 7th District. And it went to the 7th, and I didn't know he had written a letter until I got there. And when they was reading the letter, I kept saying, "Gosh, that sounds like some of the things I've done. Sounds like some of the things I've done." And the last line of the letter, it even touched me today, and I still have that letter. And it said, "Not only is he my brother in Omega, but he's also my dad." And I mean, that's chilling. And I still have that letter today. I still have that letter.
Brother Hill, behind every good Omega man, or behind most good Omega men, there is a wonderful woman.
Oh, yes.
Who is that great woman for you?
Well, my high school sweetheart, we dated when I was in the 12th grade, she was in the 10th grade. Kathy Bryant, we dated for 5 years, and this year we will be married 53 years.
Oh boy.
So she's my rock. I mean,
you've been with her almost as long as you've been in Omega.
Yes. Matter of fact, when I went over, she went over. I went over in '68, and I believe she went over in '69. So yeah, we've been together.
So that's right, Brother Hill. I want to thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule to accommodate us. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just heard from one of our Omega legends, one of our sturdy trees of Omega. Join us next time as we come to you with another legend of Omega.
Oh, thank you, man.